November 19. It's nearly been a month, but to many of us, it feels like it just happened yesterday. However, the world and the cricketing caravan moves on. And that leaves all of us confused. We've still got the pain in our hearts, the jumping that cut. And that leaves all of us confused. And we've still got the pain in our hearts, remembering Travis Head's century and the crestfallen face of Rohit Sharma and the Indian cricket team. Yet we still yearn for the success of the mighty Blues. And I'm talking about the Indian cricket team, of course, not the Mumbai Indians, who I understand have now welcomed Hardik Pandya as the prodigal son who returns. So I'm joined once again by my common fans, which is Manan and Ritvik. Unfortunately, Vijay has gone to practice for the Ranji Trophy, which starts very soon. And who knows, he could play the key spinner for the Tamil Nadu. But anyway, we've got an
is that Legends League of Ranji Trophy cricket by any chance?
Look, Vijay is a legend, all right. He's a friend of ours. He's a great musician. He is a legend, but I don't think he's that legendary in cricket. I mean, I've seen him play amateur cricket. He better stick to music. But on that note, we've got a jam-packed episode lined up, everyone. So we've got India versus Australia, the series that no one watched, but should they have? We've got India versus South Africa, the final frontier for Rohit Sharma and his boys. The India versus England women's cricket, I've seen some interesting tweets coming about that. New Zealand versus the team that handles balls, or rather handled a ball. The IPL trades are hotting up, as we talked about it with Hardik Pandya's case. And finally, we talk about losing cricket. I kind of alluded to it at the start, right? There's so much cricket going on. We're still in pain. What do we watch? So let's get this started. Manan, did you watch the India versus Australia 2020 series, and what did you think?
So, collectively, I think I would have watched about 3 to 4 overs over the entire series. Okay. Yes, I was following it on Cricinfo and a few other groups, but nothing beyond that. And it was not so much about cricket hangover or anything else. It was more around, I didn't find the Indian cricket team interesting enough to watch for some reason. I'm not attached to any one of them. I didn't feel like watching the games because of that. Maybe it's a transition period in T20s, maybe it's something else, I don't know. But it was definitely not, because of lack of, or a lot of cricket that is happening or World Cup hangover or anything else. Because I did end up watching parts of the Bangladesh game, parts of the England West Indies series that is going on as well. But it didn't really feel like watching. I don't know, I have no idea why, but I didn't feel like watching it at all. What about you, Ritvik?
Well, friends, a simple question. Is it okay to be confused in love? Because that's precisely what I am. The heartbreak of 19 November 2023 is still not over. It still hurts. And there seems to be a lot of cricket going on around me, but I seem very confused about what I should be watching and what I should not. Yes, like you rightly said, there was an India-Australia series which happened. I tuned in to watch a few overs of that, just like Manan did, especially when a certain Rinku Singh was batting, because the guy has a certain air about him. He's probably showing some promise for the lower middle order positions where we have been facing a lot of problems ever since Yuvraj and Dhoni retired. I saw that terrible over which Prasidh Krishna bowled, and it was just like I wanted India to lose. I didn't want them to win because you can't lose the World Cup final the way you did and then come back and win a silly T20 series, which we ended up winning, but still. Um, Probably the only cricket tournament in the immediate future that I'm looking forward to watching is the India South Africa Test series. But even that has left me confused because India and South Africa have played some phenomenal test cricket over the last few years. Despite that, India still plays only 2 test matches in South Africa, and that's what they're doing again. And what are they coming back early for? There's an India Afghanistan T20 series starting just a week after the Test series. And I'm sure not many players from that Test team will play the T20 series. So, why exactly are we only playing 2 matches there? And after this, towards the end of the month in January, we start a 5 match Test series against England. Now that's great. But it could have always been 3-3 or 4 for England and 3 for South Africa. But somehow we have got this habit of having only 2 test matches in South Africa. And mind you, India takes a couple of games to get into groove, especially in overseas tours, right? So the first match to chhod do, bhul jao. Probably we'll win the second game or have a tough draw there. But had there been a third or a fourth game, we could have actually got a test win, a series win in the last few test series also. But yeah, it's that's all that we get, two test matches in a South Africa series.
Okay, this is, hold the press, because Mr. Prasanna Kovalam is going to be defending the BCCI here. Funnily enough, it's not actually the BCCI that wanted the 2 tests. It's actually Cricket South Africa that wants the 2 tests, because Cricket South Africa, I think, Manan, you raised this in a couple of episodes, especially the one where we poured our hearts out after the World Cup final. Cricket South Africa finds it much more financially viable to hold limited overs cricket than test series. So that's why Cricket South Africa has made it a point just to have 2 test series, even with India that comes. And India going there is basically they've won the lottery effectively, Cricket South Africa, with the amount of rights and everything, and they're notorious for almost being bankrupt. But that's the reason why we're having 2 test series. Do I like it? No, I don't. But unfortunately, that's the way cricket goes. And you're right. We're a bit of a slow starter, but when we do well, we do really well. And I'm really excited. It's a great segue you brought into it, because the India South Africa test series, I was reading Dale Steyn. He goes, if you want to make it rain in Durban, hold a cricket match. Obviously the first 2020 was washed out. Here in Australia, I'm not going to be able to watch any of the 2020s live because it starts at like odd hours of the morning. But I'm really, really looking forward to the test series, and I really hope that we continue, because after the end of this year, 2024, 2025, guess who's going to be playing here? And hopefully it doesn't become 36 all out. It becomes 360 for one India, and they get to smash Australia's face in the cake. But that's enough of me. Manan, what do you reckon about the India South Africa games?
Yeah, of course. It's a bummer that we don't have more test matches. Probably also because last time we had 2 tests there, the Indian team basically, almost abused the broadcasters live on the stump mic. So they actually want a lot of crowd coming in, so that noise sort of suppresses.
I
But
just
other
thought
than
Virat
that,
Kohli was asking why there wasn't Ben Stokes there.
yeah. Or why there was Ben Stokes. क्या हो रहा है ये? So I think that's there. Of course, see, T20s should be anyways fun given the nature, and I do generally like watching cricket in South Africa because I don't know, it's a general vibe of Durban and the entire Super Sport Park and a few other places. So I'm looking forward to that, and definitely looking at the one day team as well, with Virat scoring there, and finally the final frontier. We have not won a lot of one day games also there. So it has always been a tough tour, regardless of how good or bad the South Africa team is there. So it remains to be seen how our boys are now freshened up after a break and all that, and how they cope up. Looking forward to seeing Jasprit Bumrah bowl again on the South African wickets. I think that's something I'm really, really excited about. Other than that, I think there's not much to be looked at in the series in general.
Fair enough, Manu. That's a good point. Look, I want to actually go back to another bit of cricket that we should talk about, given both Ritvik and Manan are parents to some wonderful, amazing little girls, and that's the India versus England women's game. In all 3 instances, I think they played a three one-day series there, right? In all 3 instances of the game, it wasn't the skill. It was something like they were mentally not there. And no disrespect to the girls. I think that they're an amazing team, but it just seems like they were not as resilient, and they didn't want it that bad as England. I'd like to get your thoughts, Manan, and then Ritvik.
So yeah, it felt like the 90s men's team, frankly, the way they played. And it gets frustrating at times because this team is really good, like you said, but they're not consistent at all. No, and more importantly, uh, people won't back them, and there won't be crowds coming in till the time they show results. And they've shown results in the past, but it's now a problem of consistency. It's not a problem of attention. It's not a problem. It doesn't seem like a problem of financial resources for that team or anything else. So now it's a pure skill and a will game that is coming out, and that's what's frustrating now, because we've kind of crossed the hard hurdle of acceptance. The BCCI and the authorities giving due attention to women's cricket. All of that is happening with WP and a lot of things. Now it's about just making sure we win, and or even if we lose, in a dignified manner where you see that yeah, they have tried enough. But unfortunately, especially this series, things have not been great. And maybe there's a change of guard in the women's cricket that period. Maybe Harmanpreet Kaur is no longer the ace that we have seen her to be, and maybe Smriti Mandana and all those people as well now need to step up a lot more. And the young blood needs to come in now in this team.
Well, having seen the way our men's team went down in the last World Cup, I really don't know how to talk about the women's team, because it, like you guys said, still seems to be stuck in the 90s, when the men's team would have a bunch of stars, but they would suddenly collapse and never produce the final result. And not just for India, but in this format, the delta between the Australian women's team and the other teams is so large that I really don't see any other team coming close to uh, global domination of the sport in the next 5 to 7 years. Like here in men's team, we have given Australia, in men's cricket, we have given Australia about 5 or 6 World Cups. And women's team is at an altogether different level. They're just too strong. So I think it's a very long way to go for our women's team there. Otherwise, we'll be restricted to what we have always been in this format, a team of champions, but not a champion side.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, once again, due to the time zone difference, I've been watching, but I've been reading a lot about it, and I'm really excited for. I think there are a couple of newcomers. There's Shreyanka Shreyanka Patil, Saikai Ishq,
Yep.
and Amanjot Kaur. Youngsters, really all the very best of them. I will definitely be cheering them on as we get to the next year's 2020 World Cup. But you're right. I think there's something like mental. It's not like they can't do it. The superstars. I mean, Smriti Mandana is the next Australian Indian citizen, I reckon. She's the next fake Indian, or the fake Aussie, or however you want to call it. Because
Did
yeah,
you just compare skills of Smriti with you and whatever you're doing for Australia or you would have done for India, really?
potentially, maybe. No,
No.
okay, no, fair enough.
You should cut that out. You should cut that out.
All right, I'll do it. Cut. All right. But once again, I think it's a really mental thing, because I think Smriti Mandana, Harmanpreet Kaur, they're fantastic celebrity superstars, and they are bloody good at playing cricket. But once again, as you all said, the 90s Indian cricket team, we were a team of champions, but Australia was a champion team. And I think, until we get that balance right, we don't know what's going to happen. And hopefully, maybe the Women's Premier League will definitely bridge that gap, because I really saw that happen when the start of the Indian Premier League happened, right? 2000, all the way back in 2007, 2008. And hopefully that works. Now let's go to another cricket team that we all love to not talk about. We will talk about the team that decided to time out another opponent and then get caught handling balls. Now, I understand that joke would have gone well if Vijay had said it, but since he's not there, it's me. So we're going to talk about New Zealand versus that team. Manan, can I say their name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We're
3,
going
2, 1. Go.
we're going to talk about New Zealand versus Bangladesh playing Bangladesh. So they handled the ball. And then they managed to lose a test after creating absolute rank turner, which I think Glenn Mitchell called it the worst ever pitch he played on. Manan, did you watch those games, and what do you think about it?
Yeah, so I think it was Tim Saudi who said that. And given, Tim Saudi has been playing, off topic, he's been playing like since forever. Like I remember maybe I was in school and he was still a youngster playing and he's still around. But yeah, I mean, see, of course, it had to be Bangladesh, somebody getting out, handle the ball. I'm sure, obstructing the field will come in next and a few other things. I'm just sad that it was not Shakib, frankly. It should have been him, but it wasn't. And such pleasure looking at the Glenn Phillips innings against all odds, and it was such a bad wicket, and they just still won the game. And that was a pretty good moment, at least for me. Not because I love Bangladesh, but generally the bounce back that happened after the previous test. So overall, well deserved Bangladesh, well deserved Mushfiqur Rahim, and well deserved New Zealand.
Guys, so while we are at the New Zealand Bangladesh game, did you see what Harsha Bhogle tweeted and got brutally trolled for? I'll just bring it up. And he
Oh,
God,
goal.
why, Harsha? Why would you say
he
this?
tweeted something like this. Sometimes the spider gets trapped in its own web, and look at the responses. Should have tweeted this on 19 November, just like India in the World Cup final. There's a Pakistani handle which is saying, "Hey, we all saw that, like India collapsed." Now, was this intentional? Was Bogle trying to say something that he could not otherwise on the mic? Or was he just talking about the Bangladesh game and then he ended up getting trolled the way he did? What do you guys think?
Well,
I think he's too
look,
smart to just take a dig at only Bangladesh, knowing fully well that what happened on 19th. But he's also very smart to not call it out on the air, because if you remember last time he actually did something around those lines, he was not commentating for a long while. So clearly it
True.
was not just
Correct.
Bangladesh.
very true, very true.
Well,
And knowing that
in fact,
he's
there's in fact, there's
yeah.
hardly anybody in this thread who's talking about Bangladesh. Everybody seems to be talking about the India Australia World Cup final.
Yeah.
Naturally, right? Naturally. Funnily enough, with Harsha, obviously knowing that he's an alma mater of that famous business school in the west of India, you would know that he comes from an advertising background. He know exactly to say, when to say it, how to say it, and who he needs to mean it to. So, I'm not going to put it past the meanings and going from there. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special celebrity guest, Mr. Vijaynarain. After having gone for a bit of a shopping exercise, I believe he's bought some new cricketing gear as he stakes his claim to be the #1 spinner for the Tamil Nadu Ranji team. Firstly, we'll welcome Vijay, and also how's the things happening in Chennai? We keep seeing images of the terrible floods in Chennai, and hopefully you and your family are doing well. How is your cricket gear?
Thanks, PK. So it's not cricket gear, it's actually podcasting gear that I went to buy. I got a tripod and a ring light, something that my sister and other people have been asking me to get for the longest time because my videos look really tacky, apparently. So I just thought I'd
this
hop over
isn't
and get
tacky?
some shot. Yeah, well, look, at least one of us needs to look good.
You're our star power. Anyway, look, Vijay, now I've got you. We were talking about that team. You know what team we're talking about? And
B1?
handling balls, or rather handling the ball. Have you been watching that test series, and what are your thoughts?
Look, against my will, as much as I understand that there's a lull in the cricket overall. Against my will, I've been watching a lot of random shitty cricket that's been happening all over the world, including a T10 league and a League of Legends where I couldn't spot like too many legends, to be honest. And of course, yes, I did catch a glimpse of. I paid 25 rupees, Indian rupees, to watch the second test on a streaming platform. So, and I'm talking about like a Bangladesh versus New Zealand test, something that, I would have never thought I would ever do. But hey, here we are for the love of cricket. I did catch that dismissal. I forgot whose it was, but it was hilarious that karma was coming back and biting Bangladesh. They somehow seem to find the weirdest ways to get batsmen out and get themselves out, and I don't know what would we do without these kind of entertaining teams, right?
Fair enough.
Have actually a better spirit of the game, maybe.
I wouldn't.
Entertaining teams and entertaining formats.
Look, I think the spirit of the game, as we have discussed ad nauseum here, is overrated, and the definition keeps changing depending on the color of the skin of the players. So let's exempt Bangladesh as a rule from such discussions, and let's just talk about the entertainment value that they bring to the beautiful game of cricket outside of anything that's skills based, because we all know they disappoint terribly there. So I feel like, you need a team like Bangladesh to, just roll the dice out there, keep it interesting. So yeah, I'm all for, these kind of shenanigans.
I just said, right, while you had joined, that I am just disappointed that it was not Shakib who got out handling the ball. It was Mushfiqur. Moving on then, you talked about the Legends League cricket, right? I did catch a few glimpses of Kevin Peterson. Boy, just so good
Yes.
in terms of the
Oh
way
my
he
God.
was hitting and whatnot. The guy is just still brilliant. I don't know why he's not playing the IPL.
Rolling back the years.
Right. I think he made a pitch for it as well. Like, after that innings, he shared a video on Twitter saying, I think, sort of calling on IPL teams to have a look at it. So it would be amazing if he could make a comeback and he actually does well, hey?
Boys,
So maybe
boys, boys.
CSK might look at him, right?
So,
Yeah,
so
I mean, he fits the age category for CSK. CSK are like
Correct.
this reverse Leonardo DiCaprio, right? A player has to
Benjamin
be
Button.
above a certain age for CSK to be interested in them.
Boys,
So
I can't
in
believe
fact,
you're
there are
talking-
these couple of maverick players like Peterson, Yuvraj, who actually retired pretty early, 35, 36, and they were out of the game. And given the way people keep playing the IPL, these guys could have easily played for 4-5 years more.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we couldn't see much of KP.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm
We
forget
ended
Kevin
we ended up
Peterson.
seeing a lot of PK. We ended up seeing a lot of PK, but we wanted KP.
Mate, I'm sorry. What can you do? What can you do? But now that we're talking about the Legends League, all right, the two legends that we need to talk about, one who masquerades as a politician in India's lower house, and the other who masquerades as a dancer, actor, and a failed cricketer. I am talking about Mr. Gautam Gambhir and Mr. Sreesanth here. Not only there's so many ways you can dig up this relationship, right? Two cricketers, one from the north of India, one from the south of India, one having a criminal record, one having a very serious look on their face.
Hey, to be fair, both of them have World Cups in their names.
Yes.
That's true.
They're both World
In
Cup
fact, the same World
cricketers.
Cups.
As you can't say that about Rohit Sharma. You can't say that about a lot of the cricketers that are playing today, right? So
Right.
I mean,
Right.
these guys are
But
World Cup.
still-
These guys are champions, man.
But legends, seriously?
These two. So in fact, that's an interesting start. I think these two and Dhoni might be the only 3 or 4 players who played both the World Cup finals, 2007 and 2011, the World Cup finals that we won.
I think Harbhajan was one, right?
Harbhajan, Yuvraj.
Yeah, Harbhajan was
Harbhajan,
another.
Yuvraj?
Correct.
Harbhajan, Yuvraj, Gambhir, and I don't think Sreesanth was in the 2011 final, was he?
He was.
He was.
Yes.
He was.
Nehra
You
had
don't
a
remember it.
Nehra had a
You don't
figure
remember.
when-
Then
So
there
got-
was
got-
a
he
toss-up.
wasn't dancing.
They've got 2 freaking World Cups between them, like each. That's an awesome
and
start,
there
man.
was a toss-up, and before the 2011 final, there was a toss-up between Sreesanth and Ashwin. And I remember discussing with my friends that, hey, these Langas, they're used to playing Murli in the nets. They anyways play Ashwin very easily. But then they came back and Javardhan tomped Sreesanth everywhere. So my friends are like that, these guys also know how to play Malinga, so Sreesanth is nothing for them.
But
Yeah,
to
look,
be fair,
I have some opinions on this. I mean, Legends League, let's forget the name, right? But let's look at cricket as a game, right? So, I mean, I honestly still think entertainment in sport is an undervalued thing. Apart from the sheer, sheer adrenaline that the sport itself gives, there is this entertainment quotient. So we talk about legends of the games all the time. Like that's what 99% of our focus is. But at some point, we do need to also look at the how do I put it better? Like the chutias of the game, right? So you need like the low IQ beef that was going on between Sreesanth and Gambhir, or the kind of random shit like Harbhajan slapping Sreesanth. You need those moments, or Shakib, kicking the stumps. You need those moments to make the game just that little bit. It's like seasoning on top of an already well prepared dish.
well,
You can live without it, sure, but it would add just that little bit of zing on it. It's like asafoetida, hing, right? By itself, you don't want to like taste hing. but it adds flavor to the dish, right? That's what I'm talking about. We need
I
like,
love the analogy.
like there is so much conversational fodder that these idiots provide. And the fact that I've spent like the last 2 minutes talking about this is testament to that on a podcast, right? So I really think, apart from the restorative power that sport has, it builds hope, it creates character, blah, blah, blah. But it also lays bare these misgivings of human beings right there, like on camera, right? And I mean, people making an absolute fool of themselves is also something that sports brings out in accomplished individuals like Gautam Gambhir, who's got 2 World Cups to his name, Sreesanth, who's got 2 World Cups to his name, and yet you see him, putting one selfie video where he's like crying about Gambhir abusing him, calling him a fixer.
So just a quick poll, quick word. So who do you think it would have been or was at fault in that
Like,
entire episode?
Okay, I'll let PK go first.
I don't even give a shit.
Look, this is like the Kardashians. You don't need to give a shit. You just need to have an opinion.
Okay, maybe Gambhir. I reckon Gambhir was probably at fault. I reckon that guy's a shit stirrer.
It's very
sitting in Australia.
trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's very, 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 very tough to decide. And in fact, I won't be surprised if Gambhir actually called him fucker instead of fixer, and Sreesanth said no, it was actually fixer.
Oh my god!
Because he wanted to add
Monkey.
he wanted to add a layer of sympathy to his Insta post. So he initially said he called me that word. Then he realized, hey, fucker, fixer is better than fucker.
Yeah, fucker doesn't sound that abusive. So let me just change it to fixer. Let me draw leaf out of my book. Look, I honestly think the missing element in this was Harbhajan. Like, he would have completed the threesome. If it had been like a beat up between the three, that would have been amazing. Because look, life comes a full circle. We're now talking about fucker versus fixer, because we've understood the whole monkey gate, the monkey versus monkey thing, right? So honestly, I think Harbhajan was that piece of the puzzle that was lacking. If he had been in there, then this would have been like the perfect matchup, the perfect entertainment quota.
I want all three of them in the Big Boss house, actually.
That'll be amazing.
Oh god,
guys, but that monkey and monkey incident was very hilarious as well, right? So
yeah,
the Cricket Australia came back and said that, hey, Harbhajan called a player a monkey, and we went back and said, no, we didn't call you a monkey. They actually abused your mother.
Yeah, we actually called you something worse. Yeah.
So we said monkey.
So one of our
we abused your mother,
classmates-
yeah. We didn't call you monkey. He's like, okay, that's fine. Just don't call me a monkey.
So one of our
How did that
classmates-
even make sense?
One of our classmates, you all remember Srijan, right? Fantastic book and a great, funny guy. So he does a comedy. He's a stand-up comedian. So if you, all the listeners and viewers of this podcast, do check him out. Srijan has this thing about, a 6-foot Sardarji guy, very angry, and then go, oi, monkey. And it's like, that just doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't sound right. Speaking of taking sides, I you know what, I was going to side with Sreesanth, knowing Gambhir's history and all of that, but I'm not victim blaming here, but who behaves in such a way that he gets slapped by Harbhajan and then he gets abused by Gautam Gambhir and called a fixer, and he actually does time for fixing games? Like, I feel like Sreesanth kind of has it coming in these situations. He has something. He's like the, what do you call it, the wick in a cracker, where you just need to light it and something happens, right? So it's out there. He's asking to be messed with. So I think I'm going to like sort of go 51-49 with Gambhir on this.
Same.
Well,
guys, I think we should have some trust in Gambhir. See, he's a representative of the people, right? He represents us in the parliament. He spent so much time representing us in the Lok Sabha, and you see, he's so busy.
Mate, I honestly think he's doing field work. So I appreciate him for like going out there in the field and working for the people instead of sitting in his
except that he's on the cricket field. Except that he's on the cricket field more often than not. And somehow Gambhir ends up finding time to be associated with anything that's remotely close to cricket. So I think we are only a few months away from having him on our show.
Yeah, we should probably ask him to come on our podcast.
Probably just a couple of emails and he'll be here.
Guys, did you see that viral video of Gambhir being asked to select between Ronaldo and what's this other guy, Messi, and then he says Rashford, right? And so random football accounts in the West have started picking that video up without knowing who Gambhir is and making fun of it. Because apparently he chose Marcus Rashford over Messi and Ronaldo.
I
Rahul
don't know who
Gandhi was
Marcus,
able
why.
to select between Messi
Yeah.
and Ronaldo, right? Rahul Gandhi, the man who single-handedly reduced his party's tally in India's lower house to single or double digits, was able to choose between Ronaldo and Messi. I mean, how shitty can you be to come up with Rashford, right?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, as taxpayers, as Indian taxpayers, people, make a better choice. Seriously.
But PK,
So
come on.
he
That's your
would,
colonial mindset speaking. Indian taxpayers don't need to follow English football.
yeah. Even
They-
I don't know who Mark Rashford is, to be
Yeah,
honest.
neither do I.
But
But
still,
I
it
do
seems
know
like,
like Ronaldo and Messi are
yeah,
royalty. They're like Sachin and Kohli, right? So it's
exactly.
like choosing Gambhir when asked to choose between Sachin and Kohli.
Exactly. You ask
it's
Gambhir,
like choosing Sreesanth when asked to choose between
So-
Gambhir and Harbhajan.
or you ask
I think that's an even
Gambhir,
matchup.
do you like your mama more, your dad, and then he'll choose I like my uncle.
Jeez. All right. Finally, boys, we're gonna have to end the podcast, but I've been wanting to talk about this. So the Pakistan cricket team is in Australia. They haven't won a game. Forget a series. They haven't won a game since 1995, right? So the Pakistan cricket team, they're in Australia. They were playing the Prime Minister's 11. Generally, this is a domestic warm-up game. They scored 9 for 391. I think the captain was hit a double century. Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister of Australia, was commentating on radio when he hit the double century. I believe Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to be commentating for the India versus South Africa Test series as well after having watched this. So good luck to him. But
I wouldn't be
Maybe the highlights.
I wouldn't be surprised, man. I mean,
Maybe the
he's
highlights, he never does it live.
guys,
So,
he's already nominated for a Grammy for so he's made his way into the world of music, giving us musicians competition. So what's next? Maybe he's the next Harsha Bhogle.
maybe he is, but in response, Australia's the PM11, the top three hit 3 for 380 or something like that, right? So this is a tour game. The top three is Cameron Bancroft, Matt Renshaw, and Marcus Harris. One of them who's going to be replacing David Warner, who, as you know, will be retiring in the Sydney. So before we end this game, I wanted to know, what do you guys reckon of the Australia-Pakistan Test series in Australia? Vijay, as an Australian citizen living in India, you go first.
Yeah, as an Australian citizen living in India, I'm more worried about India versus South Africa. I really don't care how that series between Australia and Pakistan goes. So I'm looking forward to the Test series. I actually don't even care about the 2020s. One got washed out last night, apparently.
Yes,
so I'm more interested in how the Indian team does in what's our final frontier, which is winning in South Africa, winning a Test in South Africa.
Guys, I think this Australia versus Pakistan series is going to be such a cakewalk for Australia that before the series begins, they're busy sledging each other. Like when was the last time you saw somebody take a dig at an Aussie ex-player take a dig at the Australian opening batsman? But that's what Mitchell Johnson did, right? He has been attacking Warner left, right, and center. So
And
I think
you know
it's going
what's
to be
happened? You know what's happened? He was supposed to be on the commentating team for radio. After all of this happened, he's been kicked out.
Oh.
He's been kicked out. So he's supposed to be on Triple M. He's no longer on Triple M. You know the best thing about all of this? Ravi Shastri is in the commentating team. So I've got some tickets to go to the Sydney Test match. So I'm going to see if I can get Ravi onto the show. If he can say a couple.
Race a bullet.
Yes. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I hope you're not going, on day 3 or beyond, because the test match won't last till then.
Day one. That's all I'm going to go for. But anyway, look, it's been great.
Guys, before we end, there's something interesting which happened in the otherwise mundane India-Australia T20 series. After one of those matches that we won, in the presentation, Indian captain Suryakumar Yadav said, "When I saw Rinku come into bat in the last game, the composure he showed was brilliant. It reminded me of someone. Everyone knows the answer."
Oh, no.
What is Sky talking about? Can you dare say that? Can you dare make that comparison?
I think he was talking about himself.
Yeah, he was too composed in the World Cup final. He was too chilled out, zoned off.
Man. Oh
Look,
man,
with all due respect to
But it
Rinku's
also
game,
shows the despair that even the Indian players have.
I don't know if it's despair or it's just, giving themselves that bit of confidence, saying, okay, we do have someone who can finish games, because finishing hasn't been a strong suit in big tournaments, right? So maybe that's what he means. Like, maybe he wants Rinku to take a leaf out of the great MS Dhoni's textbook and prepare for the World Cup, because we've got a World Cup coming in less than 6 months. So
Yeah.
it's time
That's
to
right.
rebuild.
We do. I will be trying to get there. I reckon Manan and Ritvik, Vijay, I reckon boys trip,
Wait,
New York
isn't that
City.
happening in South? Is that in New York City? Oh, right.
India
Yes,
versus
it's in the West
Pakistan, New
Indies.
York City. India versus Pakistan,
Right.
New York City. And it's happening in the West Indies. So I reckon if we can manage it all right, if we can get the tickets, we should definitely try for a live podcast
Yeah.
at New York City.
All right,
All
boys,
right.
let's
Okay.
do it. Let's plan for
On
it.
that note, we will all call it a night. Thank
Maybe
you
we
very
should start
much.
like a Patreon or an OnlyFans to fund our trip.
I don't think there's any
Hmm.
subscribers for my OnlyFans page, Vijay, and I don't think there'll be any subscribers for yours, Ritvik's, and or Manan's either.
Hey, speak for yourself, PK.
I think
Did
I'm
you
speaking to the
start
world.
did you start with your mustache on it?
As I said, as soon as I put that on, police started coming up to my house asking some very interesting questions. Anyhow, we will not let the viewers on that. But thank you very, very much for joining us. We have taken a break and we've come back. Join us again next time on a wonderful episode of the Common Fan Show, where we should get back to talking more things about cricket. Once again, wherever you are, happy cricketing, whether it's watching, playing, or talking about it. Thank you and have a good time.